let's talk about satisfying car guy things. You know, like when you are parking at the parking ramp. I don't park in the parking ramp, I park in like a normal stall, like a normal human being. But when you're parking in the parking, and then you get out of your car and you look back and you're like, damn, that's my hunk of junk. That's like a satisfying car guy thing. And we all have those things that we do or things that we have done to our car that have made us like look back with a big smile on our face and we're like, damn, that was totally worth it. This is one of those things we're talking today about in this video of some of the most satisfying car guy things that hopefully you can relate to, that we also relate to. And if you're interested in wheels, tires, suspension, check out fitmentindustries.com. I'm Alex. In case you didn't know, you can follow me. Fitment Industries, I guess? I'm not sure. I didn't know where I was going with that. Don't forget to hit the little bell button. Let's get right into it. So the first thing that I would say is probably one of the most satisfying things that car guys do is when you have the old high foam soap. So I don't know about you guys. We filmed a video one time, a long time ago, that was like slow-mo high foam soap. It was all sexual and it was like beautiful and it was a slow-mo. And you got the gun, you know what I mean? And then you're sitting there. And first off, high foam soap is only for like light grit and dust. It's not for like a hard clean. So if you're using it for a hard clean, you're doing it wrong. But it was sitting there and it was all like sudsy and you're just looking at it and you're just like, literally just like that. Like, I don't know why high foam soap is just like one of those things that we just thoroughly enjoy that we use, but it's one of those things that we just enjoy when we use it. And it's not always actually needed. I feel like sometimes you just use high foam soap because it's like the thing to do, and you take a picture, you throw it on Instagram because it looks, you know, it just looks cool, and then you actually wash it off, and the changes are actually pretty minimal unless you know, have a really dirty car and you're just high pressure washing the entire gosh darn thing. Anyway, it's just one of those things that I find super satisfying. The other thing I would say is when you install your exhaust for the first time and you go under a bridge or into a tunnel and you just like, you rip on it for the first time. The first time you go on YouTube, you watch all the videos, you spend the $700 or whatever it is, you're usually like, this is your first exhaust purchase, you don't know what to expect, you put it on, you turn it on, and you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds incredible. We have to go find a tunnel. And then you go find a tunnel, windows down, doesn't matter if it's 10 degrees or 90 degrees, windows are down so that you can rip through the tunnel and just hear your exhaust for the first time. Probably one of the best feelings in the world. That's one of the things that I would say is incredibly satisfying because it was like, it was such a big change and it always sounded so good and you couldn't help but smile. And then every single time you revved it afterwards, everybody got mad at you. But the first time that you revved it, the first time you went through the tunnel was probably one of the most satisfying car moments in any person's life. I'd say another satisfying moment, which is also probably one of the scariest moments in any car builder or any car enthusiast career, is when you finish a build and you start it for the first time. I don't know how many times people out there have rebuilt motors or have done anything in terms of trans or suspension work, but a lot of times when you start going into the intricacies of what actually makes the vehicle run, it actually is pretty risky. And if it's your first time doing it, you're more than likely gonna make a ton of mistakes. So when you do it for the first time or you do it for the 10th time, no matter how many times you do it, when you start that car after a fresh rebuild or you start that car after a motor swap or something like that, it's probably one of the most satisfying moments. Now, it can quickly get deteriorated if something isn't working, but for that 10 seconds of it just turning on and running, it is one of the most satisfying experiences in your life because you've spent so much time and then you finally got to hear it start and really nothing else matters for that 10 seconds. Now when smoke starts coming out of the exhaust or you have gas starting to pour out of the carburetor, you have to deal with some other issues, but you know, it's like for those 10 seconds or less, I'm free. You know, like then that was a terrible impersonation. I feel like, Max, was that pretty? It's pretty bad. All right, never mind. We're moving forward. Another thing that I find pretty satisfying is the fact of when you actually get your suspension installed or your wheels installed for the first time and you get to see it low and ready to roll. It's one of the coolest things. We've always touted that like suspension is one of the first mods that you need to do, which if you didn't get it at fitmentindustries.com, just a little bit of a guilt trip. fitmentindustries.com, but suspension as your first modification is one of the coolest things because it lowers your car. It makes it look so much different, so much better. In my eyes, we absolutely love any single car that's lowered, and it is an incredibly satisfying feeling when you get the car lowered and then you drive it because it feels so much different than when it was stock. And then if you're driving and if you got a buddy that's willing to hang out of the window and take some rollers of your car that's now lowered, it's probably another pretty satisfying thing actually seeing rollers of your car. Now, if you're a photographer out there, I feel like a lot of people have cameras these days. A lot of people take really great photos and aren't pros anymore. A lot of people have iPhones or Samsung S9 Pluses because, you know, there's a couple of us. You know, there's a couple of us. Not everybody has Apple, all right? Not everybody needs an iPhone, but People that are willing to go out there and take pictures of your car, especially when they're doing rollers, is probably one of the most satisfying things for me. I absolutely love taking photos. I absolutely love taking photos of other people's cars, but when people are able to go take photos of my car, when it's rolling down the street or when we're rolling down the road and people are just hanging out of the window to grab a few shots, I love it. I absolutely always reshare, repost, all that sort of stuff because I appreciate it. It's one of the most satisfying things when people are willing to take pictures of my cars. It's a pretty satisfying moment for me. And I would say this last one falls into like a two-sectioner. Number one, massive burnouts. So if you have a rear-wheel drive car and you manage to decide that you're gonna do a burnout for the first time and you're not scared of putting a little rubber on the rear fenders, good burnouts, best thing to do in a car. Hands down, burnouts are the most fun thing to do in your car because it's the most common thing you can do in your car. You can go to autocross events like once every other week in the summertime. You can go to drag strip events that unless you really want to pay every single week, like once a month. You can go to HPD events, and if you're rich, you probably still end up only going like once every 6 weeks. Burnouts you can do like everywhere. Now, we're not sanctioning it because our legal officers and lawyers are gonna get mad at us, but like burnouts you can do like anywhere. You can do them like at a stoplight with your friend. You can do them like at a dead end. You can do them you could do it at old Nan's house. You could do it anywhere. And it's just like, it's so much fun. It is so much fun to have a rear-wheel drive car and you're just doing a burnout, you're holding the front brake, and then you let go and you just like coast away. It's something that I enjoyed when I was 16. It's something that I enjoy now, and I don't think it'll ever change. But that actually goes into another thing that I absolutely adore, which is extremely difficult to do. And if you watch my last vlog where we went to the drag strip, you'll know why. It would be perfect launches. There's nothing better than a perfect launch on your car. So if you understand your car, you know how it works, you know if your car is actually like wants to do launch control or if it just doesn't exist and it just doesn't launch in general. But getting a perfect launch on a car is probably one of the most satisfying feelings in the world. Bonus points if it's when you're racing a buddy, because everybody loves it when you get a perfect launch, because then you get to rub it in their faces that you beat them and you had a good launch at the same time. Perfect launches are hard to come by, and great burnouts are even harder to come by because nobody likes to do burnouts anymore. But at the same time, if you do it in somebody's private property, that just makes you kind of an asshole. So just make sure you're doing it in the right places. That would be our most satisfying car moments. Car guy, car gal, tell us what your most satisfying moment is as a car enthusiast out there, and then drop a comment on what you'd like us to talk about next. And if you're interested in wheels, tires, suspension, Acura, airlift, all that sort of stuff, check out fitmentindustries.com. Obviously, that's the plug. That's why we, get to make cool videos and talk in front of a camera. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. Don't forget to subscribe. We will see you later. Peace.